Hey, Tony.
Yeah.
What's a critical areas report?
Oh, a critical areas report. Let me tell you all about it. So a critical areas report is a report that someone needs when they need to get a critical areas permit approved. Yeah.
Okay, so it's a report to acquire a permit so you can do the work that you need to do.
So you can do
your
the work
project.
You need to do. Project, yeah.
Okay, so can you talk more about the permitting part of it?
About the permitting part of it?
Yeah.
I would love to talk more about the permitting
Okay.
part of it. So permitting is kind of a weird thing. Let me tell you why. One of the new things that I've had to change and rearrange my mind about is thinking about different jurisdictions as separate. It's kind of a weird thing to say, but let me break it down. Essentially, what's new for me to understand is that the city of Bellingham is a distinct entity from Whatcom County. Whatcom County is a distinct entity from the city of Ferndale. The city of Ferndale is a distinct entity from the Washington State Department of Fish and Wildlife. The Washington State Department of Fish and Wildlife is a distinct entity from the Army Corps of Engineers. And each one of those distinct entities will have its own permitting jurisdictional system through which to submit permits through. And the critical areas permit is a specific permit through the local jurisdictions that may or may not require a lot of different pieces.
Okay.
Yeah, so the critical areas permit is one permit that is needed for a land disturbance permit or a building permit or a site plan review permit, just for example. So when you go to a project, Kim, you'll be like, okay, I want to build a house here.
Yeah.
And so you'll get your site plan, you'll talk to a builder maybe, talk to an architect, maybe an engineer to talk about talk about stormwater and grading, and you'll get it all together, and you'll present that to Whatcom County, for example, the specific entity of Whatcom County, and they'll say, okay, looks great. Go ahead and go get a critical. You also need a critical areas permit before you can move forward with the project. So there'll be a specific permit that will require a critical areas report. And then, so that person who had submitted that original project to Whatcom County will then come seek us out and say, hey, I have this project, I need to get a critical areas permit, the county told me I need a critical areas report, can you help me with that? So that's the report that we compile all the different information, such as a wetland delineation, ordinary high watermark for a stream or the coastline. Maybe there is endangered species on the property or near the property. Herons are one that can come up, or Oregon spotted frog is another one that can come up. So a critical areas report looks at all those things together, puts it into a report, and identifies if the proposed project from that individual will have an impact to one of those critical areas. If it does have an impact, then the critical areas report will have an addendum to that called the mitigation plan, which will mitigate for the impacts to the critical areas.
Okay. So mitigating, if that's needed, the critical areas report will help you determine if mitigation is needed.
Correct.
Because
exactly.
if that's needed, you have to do that in order to get the permit, the critical areas permit that you need for your project to go forward.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
And depending what type of mitigation plan you have, that will determine. Well, let's take a step back. Depending on where your project is, the physical location, generally speaking, you'll be in one of the local jurisdictions, either the city of Bellingham or Whatcom County, or the city of Ferndale, or the city of Everson, or Skagit County, or the city of Mount Vernon. These are all specific areas with specific boundaries around them. And it's kind of a weird thing, because you could literally be on one side of a street, be outside of the city, and the other side of the street, be inside the city. On one side of the street, you can be outside the city, and on the other side of the street, you can be inside the city.
Okay.
And depending on which side of that street, you will either be in Whatcom County permitting, or you'll go through City of Bellingham permitting.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit maybe complicated, or you just need to know exactly which jurisdiction you're
You
going
need to know
to.
exactly what jurisdiction you're going to.
Okay.
And so the people at the counter are really, really helpful to help you out and put you through that. But even so for example, let me show you here on Google Maps.
Yeah.
So we take a look here. This is literally the City of Bellingham boundary.
Oh.
Yeah, see that? So if we zoom into here, right near Dewey Road, you can kind of see exactly what I'm talking about.
Oh, so the boundary goes through the road.
Well, it goes through the road. So on this side of the street, you're in the City of Bellingham jurisdiction. Mm-hmm. On this side of the street, you're in Whatcom County's jurisdiction. So you'll submit your permits, including a critical areas permit if you need it, to those different individuals. Yeah, to those different systems.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So now there's some nuance to that because there's stuff called the urban growth area, and that's outside of the conversation today, where you actually permit through both jurisdictions, or you have to meet the requirements of both jurisdictions. And sometimes the different jurisdictions will work together when there's a project around a line. But that, depending on the physical location of your property or the project that you're working on, that will determine the local jurisdiction. Then depending on what happens in the critical areas report, that will determine if you have to go to the Washington Department of Ecology or even further up to the Army Corps of Engineers. And essentially that depends on if you fill a wetland or not fill a wetland.
Okay, so it's kind of like the level of maybe involvement of the like the mitigation might involve certain entities.
The mitigation will involve certain entities. Exactly.
Okay, and that varies from project to project, and so you go through the critical areas report to find out what you need to get the permit, and that can include mitigation, that can include connecting with Department of Fish and Wildlife.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Exactly. The critical areas report will outline all the rest of the permits that you'll need.
Okay.
Yeah. So critical areas permits is our bread and butter. So you'll see those come through us 9 days out of 10.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Was that helpful?
Yeah, very helpful.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Thanks. You too.